Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Well, my heater's repaired. It was a gas valve issue, and it cost me money, quite a bit of money. So, it is what it is. You try to be a little more hands-on. You try to get a part and try to install it yourself, and it's like, nope, it's not that part. Let me try it again. Well, okay, it's trying to heat up, but the gas isn't going, and it's like, oh, so it's probably a gas valve problem, and it's like, that's too much for me. So I was like, I'm gonna pay somebody to do it because I don't want to mess with that. Don't need to give myself carbon monoxide poisoning. And plus, you need like 2 big wrenches to remove the freaking gas valve, and you have to move a bunch of parts. And yeah, it's like, okay, that's a little too technical. So, had to pay a guy. But it's on, and we got heat. So, but I'll promise I'll try to keep making more videos. Anyways, basically, we're only a month away from Midwest Fur Fest. One of the largest furry convention of the year? Question mark? We're gonna find out. There has been an interesting little update in the past few things, and there's 2 major updates to talk about, and I'm going to make a quick video about this. So, I have updated the numbers of the attendance rates, all of them except for Midwest Fur Fest. My estimate for Midwest Fur Fest this year is going to be 11,049, based on prior numbers and prior experiences. We'll see how that goes. Given the room lottery and things like that, we'll see if it really does put a damper in their ability to acquire more attendees. So basically, we have a bunch of attendance records updated. Now, the most interesting one here, there's 2 very interesting things here. Number 1, for your reference, they actually never really officially announced their number. But basically, we have they did a tweet on their Eurofrance Twitter, and they said there was a 40% response rate, and they said how many people responded to their basically they tweeted how many people responded to a survey, to an attendance survey. They said, hey, like this amount of people replied to our attendance survey, and that's a 40%. Like there was like a 40 or a 35%, or there was like a 44%, basically interaction rate. And I'm like, oh, maths! I can do maths. So basically, using that number, I was able to calculate that the attendance for Eurofrance was 3,507 attendees this year, which is their largest year yet. So it seems that we definitely are back on a growth pattern. One additional thing that's very interesting of the numbers that have been returned so far is that I have implemented Biggest Little Fur Con's numbers, which ironically they did actually announce their numbers as 5,234. And basically, Furry Weekend Atlanta's numbers are in, and that's at 5,494, which means that for the first year, that we can see that officially, Furry Weekend Atlanta is in 3rd place. It is basically solidified its 3rd place position. Before, I wasn't really ready to call it that because, actually, it was like that, not only that, but there was also another one. So basically, Texas Furry Fiesta, as you can see here, has also crossed over Biggest Little Fur Con. So basically, they're now in 5th place. Biggest Little Fur Con went from 3rd place before the pandemic, and now they're down to 5th place. And we can see that that they're continuing to increase. It looks like Furry Fiesta and Biggest Little Fur Con are sort of neck and neck But there's another one rising really quickly behind it, and that's Megaplex. Megaplex seems to be growing at a pretty good stint as well. So there's definitely a lot of growth in the furry fandom and growth in convention attendance rates. And that's for better and for worse. But there's also, so as attendance gets larger and larger, if you don't like big crowds, which a lot of furries don't like big crowds, always be on the lookout for smaller meets and smaller gatherings and up-and-coming things. And this is also a memo to myself because the up-and-coming, there could be, this is the top 8 furry conventions attended in the world. At the end of the year, I definitely need to make sure that before, further confusion comes along, that I review the 9th and 10th and 11th places, of the attendance, to make sure that none of them have actually surpassed. And if they have, then I got to rework. I basically got to rework them into the spreadsheet, basically. I probably won't get rid of the old data because it's there. I might as well keep it. But I probably will, retain it until it goes away or something. I'll come up with a plan afterwards. But those are the 2 big stories. Number 1, Texas Furry Fiesta is moving up the ranks. It is now the 4th largest furry convention in the world. Furry Week in Atlanta continues to accelerate. It is now in a solid 3rd place. So the one last big news story about conventions and sort of how they're going about doing things and things such as that is that there's an interesting thing that's sort of going on here, and it was a letter that was sent by Biggest Little Fur Con just recently, and that is that Biggest Little Fur Con has basically solidified that in 2023 it will be taking place in the fall. So if we gotta go to the website because I didn't plan things out too well. You can't improv that much. You gotta at least have some little thing here. So let's. So we're gonna go to here. So basically, some of the largest furry conventions have now kind of taken on a seasonal pattern, and what that means is that Biggest Little Fur Con made an announcement late last week. They indicated that in 2023 they're going to be taking place in the autumn season. They don't know the exact dates yet, but they indicated that it was going to be in autumn. So what that means is we now sort of have one large furry convention in the United States for every season. For December, kind of the winter months, we have Midwest Fur Fest in Chicago. For spring, we have Furry Week in Atlanta, which takes place around May. And that's in Atlanta, Georgia. For summer, we have Anthrocon that takes place in Pittsburgh, usually during the 4th of July weekend-ish area. And basically now, Biggest Little Fur Con is going to fall within the fall. See what we did there? Season. Now, how that will impact the Texas Furry Fiesta, I don't think it's going to all that much because I think Texas Furry Fiesta is also kind of spaced out. I think it's kind of in February. I think it's in February, January. I think I'm doing it off of memory. So if I get it wrong, you can kick a comment in the comment section. Tell me how wrong I am. But I think it's also kind of spaced out from the other 4 just fine. So what we're seeing here is whether naturally or unnaturally, or on some very odd coincidences, is that the furry conventions are starting to space out, which is a good thing for them because that means they're not stepping on each other's toes, and it'll give them room to grow even more for their particular regions. So many furries who, and it's also, they're kind of spread out too. Pittsburgh, Chicago, Atlanta, Georgia, near Reno in Texas, they're pretty spread out from each other. So that's also another positive. Geographically, they're pretty spread out. So I think it's a very good, solid pattern, and I think that growth can continue in that shape or form, for better and for worse. So I think that's all there is to that one. I just want to throw that one out there. So my prediction for this year is going to be about 11,000 attendees for Midwest Fur Fest. We'll see how that comes out in the wash. Could be a little less. I'd be surprised if it was more. We'll see what happens. And as once again, I will be at the convention. I will be having a panel on Friday in the Fishbowl area. Check the schedule. It's nonfiction writing panel. So I hope to see some of y'all there, and hope to be ready for that, and hopefully doing something a little different will get me to wake the heck up, because I've kind of been going through the motions, as it were, in both my job and here. As you notice, I haven't been uploading a lot. It is kind of the point where it's like, you just keep moving things around, and you kind of get antsy. You kind of want to do things a little bit different. You want to kind of do a little bit different things, and experience, other things. And so, you get a little stir crazy. Even introverts get a little stir crazy. But I've been also doing something else, another I've been doing kind of a side project that I'm trying to get out there, and we'll talk about that more when we're ready to do so. I don't think it's quite there yet, but I think you guys will be very happy about it. I'll talk more about that when the time comes, sometime in summer of 2023. Just keep an eye out for an announcement. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you guys next week for more videos. Thank you very much.